If you've ever been jolted awake in the middle of the night with your child screaming of ear pain, you know how heartbreaking and exhausting chronic ear infections can be. You're rushing to their room, you're trying to comfort them and console them, help them feel better, only to end up at the pediatrician's office the next day with the same recommendation: another round of antibiotics. It can feel frustrating to be stuck in this cycle of temporary relief followed by another infection a few weeks later. Can be even more frustrating if your pediatrician or your ENT is recommending something like ear tubes or a surgical procedure that doesn't really resonate with you as a parent. If you're feeling trapped between these different options that you're just not comfortable with, this video is for you. I want to help you understand what is going on behind your child's recurring ear infections and how to help you out. First of all, I want you to know that you're not alone. Before the age of 3, 5 out of 6 kids in the US experience an ear infection. So while it is a common thing out there, to turn into recurring month after month, multiple times a season ear infections is not the normal thing for children. So first, I want to share the story of Freddie. He came to see us at 4 years old, and I'll go into what his scans show here in a moment. But ultimately, he had had 2 sets of tubes, and he was still coming down with chronic recurring ear infections. So once he started to come to see us, we were looking for underlying stress in his body. And I want to dive into next the 2 main things we see with common and recurring ear infections. But in his case, with his scans, we found not only was his nervous system as a whole holding a lot of stress, you can see that with these red bars here, but these red bars in the upper neck had the biggest to do with preventing his ears from working the way they should. Now, just after a couple weeks into care, fast forward months down the road, he went through the winter season, he got some colds, but nothing turned into an ear infection anymore. The reason is that we were supporting his system when the antibiotics, the tubes, the other things parents were trying just couldn't get to the root of things. So the 2 things that we look for in our office when it comes to recurring ear infections are, number 1, can the ears drain properly? Now, the biggest myth that you'll hear here is, well, kids, when they're young, their tubes are flat. They're not facing downward to have gravity help like adults have. But here's the thing. If flat tubes were the cause of recurring chronic ear infections, all kids would have to go through a phase of chronic ear infections until their tubes started to grow into a more vertical position. So what is really happening is, in order for the tubes to clear out fluid, they need good movement. This comes from movement of the neck and the jaw and the mouth, being able to chew and swallow and turn and move properly to help these tubes clear and drain. What we see in our office is, if anything in the neck is out of alignment, those tubes, instead of being nice and wide open to drain, start to get crunched down. Now fluid starts to build up. And if it's built up and it sits in the ear, guess what? That's when bugs can grow. So step 1 is to make sure the tubes have the ability to move fluid down and out through the neck. The second thing has to do with the nervous system. And after I share this one, I'll explain how everything comes together with some of the causes that we see in our office. But the second piece with the nervous system is critical because the nervous system regulates the immune system. So when it comes to ear infections, not only do we need good movement of fluid, but we need the nervous system to not be stuck in a stressed out state that prevents the immune system from learning how to fight the bugs off. So our immune system is incredibly intelligent, and it's designed to start to pick up on what is going on in our environment. And so if your kiddo is getting sick with the same thing over and over, whether it's ear infections, RSV, croup, bronchitis, pneumonia, sinus infections, if there's a recurring illness pattern, it's often because the immune system isn't robust enough to be able to learn not only how to fight things off one time, but then to learn how to prevent it from coming back in the future. So that's step number 2, is we want to see, is the nervous system under stress that's impacting the immune system. So if we go back to Freddie's scans here, that's what we saw with these red bars are areas of stress that were depleting his immune system's ability to fight things off. What this might look like for your child is going back early on. One of the most common things that we see affecting a child's ability to drain and impacting their nervous system actually has to do with the birth process. A stressful labor and delivery, maybe there was C-section, vacuum, forceps, induction, maybe a stalled labor, maybe baby's shoulder was stuck, maybe there was a lot of pushing but baby wasn't progressing. All these things put a tremendous amount of stress on new baby's delicate spine and nervous system through their neck specifically. And the neck is where things need to drain in order to get baby on track. So if this resonates with your baby, maybe you did say, yeah, labor and delivery was tougher than we expected. Or my child was a little stressed early on. They were colicky, they were refluxy, they arched their back, they were stiffer than usual. They always turned their head to one side. Those can be signs that something was off here early on. And now, as your child gets to be a year, 2, 3 years old, you start to get these recurring ear infections because not of something that showed up in the moment or not because they just went to a new preschool, but because their body was thrown off from the beginning. And that's what we want to help your child do is set them up for success. So if they're starting a new daycare, a new preschool, it makes sense they get sick a little bit early on, but we want them now to get used to those bugs and be able to get through things and get healthier on the other side. And as a parent, especially if you're getting sick of the cycle of antibiotics, you might be looking for these other options because you know, well, this antibiotic is wiping out my child's gut or it's preventing their immune system from getting robust and healthy. That's where we're here for you. So please reach out with any comments, any questions. Check out the link on our website where we talk more about ear infections and what you can do as a parent to help your child thrive.